So, it has been 4 days since the new Bedwars update. Now, this has been one of, if not the most controversial Bedwars update ever. So, in this video, I'm going to go over what the update is, who it affects, and my opinion on the whole thing. Like I said, I've been playing with this update for 4 days now, so I feel like I've taken my time to pay attention to what the update actually changes and what it doesn't. So, to start off, what actually changes in this update? The first thing that was added was matchmaking. Now, I know a lot of Bedwars players hear the word matchmaking, and they're like, oh no, Bedwars is ruined forever, I hate everything, I'm going to quit the game. Just bear with me a minute. I've seen a lot of people in lobbies these past few days who are 200 plus stars complaining about the matchmaking. The thing is, it doesn't affect them that much. The only thing that changes in this update is an additional bracket in the matchmaking that already existed. Before this update, there was a 1 to 15 star matchmaking bracket and a 15 plus bracket. Now there is a 1 to 10 star bracket, a 10 to 50 star bracket, and a 50 plus bracket. So nobody over 50 stars is really affected, besides the fact that they have to play slightly better players. I would argue the new bracket is actually beneficial to the Hypixel community, because before this update, players would start the Bedwars career against players with a similar skill level to them. Eventually, they would start winning some games, feeling pretty good about themselves. Then all of a sudden, they get to 11 stars and boom, they are playing against 200 plus star players. And, they start getting all angry because they can't win anymore. They quit the game. Hypixel's back where it started. No new players. This bracket gives new players additional time to get better at the game before being thrown into the more skilled lobbies. The only downside is that games in the 50 plus bracket become slightly more sweaty, but honestly I'm okay with that. So overall, I would say this new matchmaking is a plus, not a minus. Okay, so the next part of the update is a bit more controversial. So name obscuration was added, which is just a fancy term that means that you can't see players' names in the starting lobby of each Bedwars match. What's the big deal, you may ask? Well, I'll tell you. So Hypixel has made it impossible to Q dodge. Q dodging is something that a lot of high-level players who are grinding for stats or streaks do to avoid known cheaters, hackers, and snipers. Basically, if you know that certain player is a hacker or a sniper, and you see them in your lobby, then you leave to go to a different one. Like if you get B-hopped on in one game, and you go into another one, you see the same player, then you go into another game to avoid getting B-hopped on twice in a row. Some even more advanced players would put everyone in their lobbies, IGNs, into a bot, which would generate sniper scores for each player. If a player had a high sniper score, you would leave the game and go into a different one. Hypixel has obliterated all of that. You can't see anyone's name, so no more recognizing hackers or snipers. While some players claim that this will make sniping worse, I think it will stay around previous levels or maybe even get better, as snipers can no longer see who's in their pre-game lobby. There was also an update released after the original one that allows players to freeze their stats, making sniping much more difficult, as snipers can't see any updated stats past when you froze them. So overall, sniping shouldn't be much of a problem. I do think that this update is detrimental to a lot of higher level players, because they can no longer Q dodge. But I think there is a benefit, which is that players can't Q dodge based on other players' stars. So I've done this a ton of times, where I'll go into a game, I'll see a 600 plus star player, and then I'll leave and go to a different one because I don't feel like fighting him. This does result in more wins for me, but they're mostly against low level players, so I rarely had the satisfaction of winning against better players. Not being able to do this benefits players by forcing them to get better as they play higher level players. The update also makes Bedwars games more interesting, because instead of having one high level player against a bunch of nons, there's a even mix of skill levels in each game. This makes the game more enjoyable for the low to mid level players, and it also makes it so that the win isn't guaranteed for the highest level player. And a lot of high level players are salty about this, because they're used to playing games with little to no competition, killing everybody, not even have to try. I think that they need to accept that everyone's going to have to earn their wins and stats now, instead of extensively Q dodging until they are in a lobby with players all less than 50 stars. So all in all, I don't think this update is going to be as bad as people think it is. For starters, the matchmaking is neglectable, and even a benefit to new players. The name obscuration does kind of suck for high-level players grinding for stats or streaks, but let's face it, most players aren't high-level, and the ones that are now have to actually try to earn their stats. The average Bedwars player just wants to be able to play the game. This being the case, the name obscuration is actually beneficial to the majority of Hypixel Bedwars players, and that's what I think Hypixel was going for here. An update that benefits the majority of Bedwars players. This update is also geared towards entry-level players, which will hopefully grow the Bedwars community and revive the game a little with fresh players. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out, but I for one think this update isn't going to be as bad as people say it is. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and comment down below what you think about this new Bedwars update. And anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video.